Today we're going to be focusing on using visual representations to understand how to find the area of a triangle using the formula. Specifically, we're going to be looking at right triangles today. So first we're going to start with maybe what would be a little bit of a review and finding the area of a square. So the area of a square is going to be the number of square units that are inside that cover the space of this shape. So I could count 4, 8, 12, 16 squares, so it would be 16 units squared. I could also use a formula. So I could label the length and the width, and then I could calculate area equals length times width. 4 times 4 equals 16 units squared. Now I'm going to do something to the shape, and I want you to think about what you notice. As I've made a diagonal line down this shape, I have now made two right triangles. And what I would like you to do, or we're going to do, is to figure out the area of this right triangle. We could figure it out using counting the square units and using a formula, just like we did with the square. So first, let's try to figure out by counting the square units. So as you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 square units. But also, these triangles, if we put them together, would make one square unit. So I have 6, 7, 8 square units. So my area of this triangle is 8. I want you to think about how does that connect to the area of the entire figure if this is 8. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, it's half of the area because the entire area is 16, so half of it, when we counted this up, was 8. That's going to be really helpful when we're trying to understand this formula. So I just wanted to make this visual representation a little bit easier. I've now also labeled what's called a base, how the triangle sits, and the height, how tall the triangle is, and it's 8 units squared. Okay, so now let's talk about the formula. So the formula of finding the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. I prefer to look at it as area equals base times height divided by 2. I always have that visual of cutting the square in half and finding half of the area of a square. And if we did that, let's just check, just like we did with the square, to make sure that this makes sense. So my base and my height are 4, and if I plug that into the formula, 4 times 4 equals 16 divided by 2 equals 8 units squared. So as you can see, we got the exact same thing that we did when we physically counted the squares and counted the square units inside. So when you're thinking about taking the area of a right triangle, remember, it's really half of a square, and you could also work backwards and make this right triangle and then make another right triangle to connect it. So formula of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Okay, thank you. That's it for now.